Welcome to this edition of Michael's Weekly Perspective Podcast. This is podcast episode 66. In this podcast, I'm going to have a chat with a social media influencer. And then at the end, I'm going to share with you a highlight from my recent attendance of the National Federation of the Blind of Georgia State Convention. That is all for this edition, and stay tuned. Hello, it's so great to be back with you once again on this edition of Michael's Weekly Perspective Podcast. This is podcast episode 66. In this podcast, I'm going to have a chat with a YouTuber from Katie's Eyes, and then at the end, I will share with you a highlight from my recent attendance of the National Federation of the Blind of Georgia State Convention. That is all for this edition of Michael's Weekly Perspective Podcast, and stay tuned. If you would like to get hold of this podcast, you can call using the listener line, and the phone number is 404-923-0115. That's 404-923-0115. You can also send me an email, and the email address is munnmichael68@gmail.com. October is also known as Blindness Equality Achievement Month. In today's podcast, I'm thrilled to invite a YouTuber/social media influencer to the studio and have a chat with me. I saw her video while I was browsing Facebook last Monday, and I was thinking, why don't I invite her to the podcast and have a chat with me and discuss how did she become a social media influencer? And so off I went. I contacted her via Facebook Messenger, and she agreed to be a guest. So far, the video that she had created, it is all about breaking the barriers between people who are sighted and people who have a vision impairment. So today, I am thrilled to invite this lady. Her name is Catherine Chavarria. Before I invite her onto the podcast, let us wish her a very, very happy birthday. Today, she is 15 years old again. Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Every time when I invite a guest over to my show, I would first ask them to do is let them introduce themselves. So, Katie, would you mind take some time to talk about yourself and give my listeners some details about you, such as where you're from and what do you do for a living?
Yes, of course. So, as you mentioned, my name is Catherine. I'm actually from Arizona. For a living, I am a stay-at-home mom now. I did used to work at a call center, but ever since I had a baby, work wasn't the same. So I decided to be a stay-at-home mom. And I am actually completely blind. I had retinoblastoma when I was 7 years old, which is, for those who don't know, it's a type of cancer that I had in both eyes. And actually, they had to remove my eyes because the tumors are starting to move towards my brain. So I have 2 prosthetics. And currently, I'm going to be 30 this Sunday, October 16th. So, yeah, it's been about 22 years because I was 7, turning 8 when it happened.
Well, happy early birthday. I'm glad
Thank
you're turning
you.
15 years old again.
I know, right?
Oh, yes. When I was 15, my TBI, the teacher of blind and vision impaired, wrote me a card that says, I'm halfway to 30. Oh, my gosh.
I'm sure at that time it felt like, oh, my gosh, that's so old. But it's funny because now that I'm turning 30, I'm like, it's not even old at all.
Oh no, once you get into 60, and oh my gosh, that's even worse.
I know. We'll see when we get there, right?
Yes, we have to see. So based on the accent, I can tell that you're not from America.
Yeah. Well, my parents are from Central America. So I was born here in Arizona, but my parents are from Honduras, which is in Central America. So I am Hispanic.
Interesting. So when did your family move to the United States?
They moved here before I was born, maybe like 2 years before I was born. So it's been about 32 years that they've been here. So yeah, I was born and raised in Arizona, actually. I've been in Arizona my whole life.
That's nice.
Yep. Yeah, but I have had a chance to travel a little bit. Actually, I went to college. I went to Arizona State University, and through that, I was able to do a study abroad program in London. So that was really neat.
Oh, yes. That's my next goal during the summer of next year to travel to London. And right now, I haven't made any progress yet because I still need to update my passport.
Oh, yeah.
I was born in China and I moved to the United States when I was 14 years old. I still have my Chinese passport, but it's very out of date.
Yeah, you definitely need to update it now.
Oh, yes, yeah, and once you become a citizen, that passport is no longer valid.
Right, right.
Today is White Cane Awareness Day, so I have a question to ask you. When you go out, do you use a white cane or a guide dog?
So I actually have a guide dog. I use my guide dog. If I'm being honest with you, Michael, I don't remember when the last time it was that I've used my cane just because I use my guide dog and now it's a baby, I when I go out, I always go with somebody usually. So I'll also either, be sighted a guy with like my husband or a family member. But yeah, I actually got my first guide dog when I was 16. It was the summer before senior year. As a kid growing up blind, and I always went to public school. I never went to any type of school for the blind. I did go to like a Foundation for Blind Children, which is like a program that they have out here in Arizona, like on Saturdays. But honestly, that was the only time I was ever around blind people. So I really never felt confident and like I actually felt insecure because of my cane. Um, and, especially when I went into high school, I felt that way. But I think by like sophomore, junior year is when I guess I accepted it that, you know, I, I obviously always use the cane because I couldn't, I can't see at all. I'm completely blind. So I can't, there's some people that are visually impaired that are able to barely pass by without a cane. Like that was not me. So in high school is when I kind of accepted the fact that you know, I have to use this. It is what it is. And I started growing confidence in it. But once I was able to get a guide dog, it's, I definitely want to take the opportunity. And I know it's not for everybody because it is a lot of responsibility, but it's definitely helped me.
Most definitely true. And when I was a senior last year in high school, our school was able to get a guide dog, this paraprofessional who worked at the Georgia Academy for the Blind.
Hmm.
She used to be, or she is still, a remote trainer for guide dog school for the blind in Long Island, New York. And she is able to get a dog from that school and let blind students to have this experience of working with a guide dog for an hour like every day. And I was one of those students who tried out handling a guide dog while walking. And it's definitely a great experience because, using a white cane, you have to rely 100% yourself. With a guide dog, it's like half and half. You split the job.
Yeah. And even then, like for some people, it's hard because I think that was a hard part for me transitioning. With the cane, you kind of have more control of knowing what your surroundings are because you feel it through the cane, you're able to feel it. But with the guide dog, obviously, they take you around, they take you up to things. So it's like a whole other level of trust. You're completely putting your trust um in your guide dog and it's just you have to just trust that they're guiding you correctly. And obviously you have to know where you're going because you're the one giving your dog the directions. But like I said, you never really know what landmarks you're coming up unless you ran the route before, which when I was in college, that's what I did. I would always do the route first with my cane. So I knew like what the route was and then I taught my dog. Like I said, it's just a whole other level of trust. You're trusting somebody else, with this job that you've done your whole life. But honestly, one thing that it's done for me is definitely boosted my confidence and my walking. Like my walking is so much more faster with my guide dog than with my cane for sure.
Yes, indeed. So which school did you get your dog from?
I went to Guiding Eyes for the Blind in Yorktown, New York, and Michael, it was the best experience. I'm on my second guide dog. Personally, I've never had any issues. The staff was amazing. The food was so delicious, and the best part is you get to do a day trip to Manhattan. So it was
Oh,
so much fun. Yes, I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it.
oh yes. And let me tell you, when I was in economics last year, we were learning about the living expenses in different states. The first thing that was on my mind was finding the living expenses in New York, especially in Brooklyn area. And man, they're so expensive.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yes,
But yeah, that's one thing we say. If you can get through Manhattan with a guide dog, you can get through anywhere.
most definitely
And that
true.
is for sure because, like I mentioned, I did the study abroad. So when I did all those things, I had my guide dog with me. And let me tell you that definitely was very helpful for me, especially because I did find myself in a couple of situations where I had to find a location by myself. So, being in a foreign country, um, completely blind by yourself, it was just like having that really helped me feel more secure, especially as a young girl, completely blind, somewhere that I'm not from. It definitely helped, and it served its purpose there too. So.
Oh yes, indeed, yeah. I also have friends who are guide dog handlers. And besides leading the way, guide dog can also be a great conversation starter.
Yeah. Oh yes, for sure. You're more approachable because everybody loves dogs, than
Oh
versus
yes.
than versus having a cane. And I think, it's not that a cane is a bad thing at all, because I have a couple of friends who have had both. They've been both a dog user and cane user, and they prefer the cane because, like I said, you're more aware of what's around you with the cane than with the guide dog, because you find, those different objects and stuff. But I think it's just kind of like a stereotype, or it's something where people who don't have a disability, in reality, they're not really around a lot of people who are visually impaired or who are specifically like blind and cane users. They're not really around that so much. Because like I said, I wasn't around it as someone who's completely blind. My family's never been around it. Friends that I've met have never been around them. So I feel like, when people see it, there's just a stereotype already about it. One thing that I do also, Michael, I am on TikTok, so I do a lot of TikTok videos. Um, so I do a lot of content for social media, and that's why I do it, because I kind of I want to expose people to the blind community as well, and like the reality of it, and how we are, just like everybody else, we just kind of do things differently, but we love to have friends, we love to hang out, we can do cook and everything, and I understand, I understand their side. When you've never been around certain people, or certain situations, you don't understand it and you get curious about it. You know what I mean? So that's why through my social media content that I do, I just want to open that door and kind of break that barrier between the blind community and people who are sighted. Um, because like I said, I think when they see a cane, they're like, oh, they're blind. Like I have to stay away, or for some reason people think that they have to talk louder to you, or that you can't talk and they talk to the person that you're with instead of directly to you. You know what I mean? So
Oh yes. So basically you're saying a cane is an icon to show that, a person is blind. But with a guide dog, it doesn't show.
yeah, or it does, but I feel like people are more approachable because it's a dog. Like you said, it's a conversation starter. So I feel like you can be more approachable, because the first thing people want to know is, can I pet your dog? Or and sometimes people who are blind, you can't tell if they're blind. So I've had situations in college where people thought that I was training my guide dog, so they'll ask me like, oh, are you training your dog? But yeah, so I just feel like it's more approachable, it's more of a conversation starter with the guide dog, especially if you're somebody who's more like reserved and more of a introvert than, so um but like I said, on the other hand, I do feel like the cane is helpful in a way where you know what's around you. Every time your cane comes across something, you know what's around you. So
This is a two-part discussion that I had with Katie. This is it for part one. Many of you know I like to read news a lot. Therefore, I've subscribed to various newspapers. I could not have done this without the support of NfB Newsline, the service that was provided to me. Today, to talk about Newsline, I am thrilled to have Jessica Beecham over. Jessica came to the annual 49th convention of the National Federation of the Blind of Georgia that was being held last weekend in downtown Atlanta. Please excuse the background noise because this was recorded using my iPhone 11 Pro, and as you know, the microphone from this iPhone is very powerful, so it captured every soundbite.
I'm just so happy to be back in person with this crew here. It's always my favorite convention to get to attend. My name is Jessica Beecham, and I get the privilege of working as the marketing manager for the NfB Newsline service here in Georgia for Audible, Universal Information Access Service, AUS, Georgia AUS. That's the fancy name for NfB Newsline. So is there anybody in the room who doesn't know what NfB Newsline is? Take a look at you. Okay. So most of you guys know, so just really quickly, in case there was anybody who was just a little too shy to say it, NfB Newsline is a completely free newspaper reading service that does so much more than just read the newspaper. See, with NfB Newsline, you have access to over 400 different newspapers. You have access to nearly 100 different magazines, international publications, severe weather alerts, job listings. Anybody in here need a job? Yeah, so you can search for your jobs. You can read both USA Jobs and Career Builder listings on the NfB Newsline service. You can access TV listings. There is breaking news, which now through the NfB Newsline mobile app, you can share those breaking news stories on your social media, so you can share your favorite articles with your friends. There's so much on the NfB Newsline service. So I was looking today, you know, magazines and newspapers are pretty expensive. And you think you have access to Sports Illustrated, Vogue, People, Good Housekeeping, all recipes, so many different types of publications that you don't have to pay the subscription fee for any of those. You can access them all on Newsline. You might say, how can I access Newsline? There are many different ways that you can access publications through Newsline. You can use the dial-in service on your touch-tone phone. We still have that option available, and lots of people still like to use it. You can use the mobile application, and I'm going to talk more about the mobile application in just a second, because there's some really cool stuff that you might want to know about that. You can access Newsline through your Braille-specific devices, like many of your Braille note takers and your Victor Reader and all kinds of things like that, which Victor Reader's not a Braille device, but it's a blindness-specific device. Anybody have Alexa? Yeah. You can access NfB Newsline through Amazon Alexa. You can also access NfB Newsline through your email. If you are not sure how to access Newsline, Dorothy Griffin, your president. Anybody know Dorothy Griffin?
Yes.
We love Dorothy, and Dorothy is a phenomenal outreach manager for the NfB Newsline service. So many of you may know this already, but she does 3 weekly trainings. So 2 of those weekly trainings that Dorothy does each week are geared around different features of the NfB Newsline service. So it might be how to access Newsline by the phone, how to access Newsline on Alexa, or how to access Newsline weather alerts, or how to build a customized paper, or how to use your favorites, or how to use the weather alerts. So she goes through all those different things step by step. And has anybody done any training with Dorothy on Newsline? Yeah. Dorothy is the most patient trainer that you'll ever work with. She will work with you. She will make sure that you get it. So if you're like, oh, it just seems a little daunting, it seems a little complicated, Dorothy will work with you until you have it right. So don't hesitate to hop on those trainings with Dorothy. On Fridays, we do a special training. Well, it's not really a training, it's kind of a fun session. And Dorothy and Maureen Neefeld, does anybody know Maureen?
Yes.
Yeah, so Maureen is another outreach manager manager that we have who actually works virtually from Colorado, and she puts together each week an article discussion, and sometimes, sometimes she leads it, sometimes Dorothy leads it, but we get together and we pick an article from the Newsline service, and we use some mechanism from Newsline to read it, and then we talk about it. And so it's been a great tool for not only being able to help people practice those skills to use the Newsline service, but also to help people have some social outlet and just a little bit of fun during this time as we're coming through pandemic. So I just want to say a big thank you to Dorothy and Maureen for all the excellent training that you guys do on the NfB Newsline service here in Georgia. And now I want to talk a little bit about the mobile application. Is anybody in here ever have any trouble reading paper that you get in the mail? How about restaurant menus? How about those pesky little notices that people might tape to your door, or that you might pick up at a health fair or something like that? Anybody ever have any trouble reading any of that stuff? Me too! Solution for that. So now, with the new NfB Newsline application, you have access for free to KNFB Reader Lite. So KNFB Reader has technology that's called optical character recognition. And so through the optical character recognition, you can take a picture of any of that pesky print paper and have it read right to you. And that's available for free. Also on your mobile application, some of the new features include being able to put articles in the queue. So maybe you find something that you want to read, but you don't really have time to read it just yet. You can have that available to you. You can also set up favorites that pop right up on your front page when you open the mobile application. And then there are settings, so you can have specific settings based on whether you like a high contrast or just some of the different things that you like to customize within the app. It's more customizable than the old Newsline app was. So I would encourage you, if you haven't taken the opportunity to download the new NfB Newsline mobile application, to go ahead and do that. How many people haven't accessed their Newsline in a long time and you're like, oh, all this stuff sounds really cool, but I don't remember my subscriber information anymore? There's always some people in the room that don't remember their subscriber information anymore. I have a note on my phone. And, if I ever have to get on a new device, I'm like, I don't know what it is. But Dorothy has access to that information. So if you don't have your subscriber information and some of this stuff sounds like it would be of interest to you, you can always reach out to Dorothy and she can help you to be able to get a hold of your subscriber information. We always want to make sure that new folks have the opportunity to subscribe, and so anybody on our team who you see around here this weekend can assist with that. And so we're all happy to help you to sign up for the service or to be able to get that subscriber information or anything that you need to be able to use Newsline better. So I would just say it's a phenomenal service. You should tell your friends. You should join the training. You should. How many chapter presidents do we have in here? Yes. All right, we got a couple chapter presidents in here. All right. How many people do we have in here that are with other organizations that help people who are blind in Georgia? I've got a few of those in here. All right, awesome. So you got a lion roar. I love the lion roar. So we, one of the things that we have that's really cool on the NfB Newsline service is called our local channel. And so the local channel is a place where people can have Dorothy or get access to post information that blind people in Georgia will want to know about, that local people in Georgia, maybe our friends in Texas don't need to know about it, but all of our folks in Georgia do. And so we have a place where we can put all of that information. So if you have information you want to share about something going on in your chapter, if you have some information that you want to share about something going on in your organization, please feel free to let us know, and we'll make sure that we either get that information up there for you or that we help you have access so that you can regularly post information to NfB Newsline local channel. Thank you guys for having our team here. Thank you for being such a welcoming and fun convention. And hop on Newsline, read the Braille monitor, read everything. That's what we have access for, so that we can have access to the same information that sighted people do. So hop on Newsline and get to reading. Thank you.
This is it for this edition of Michael's Weekly Perspective Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to send an email to me at munnmichael68@gmail.com. That's munnmichael68@gmail.com. You can also give me a call at 404-923-0115. That's 404-923-0115. Thank you once again for listening to this edition of Michael's Weekly Perspective Podcast, and have a nice day.